Okay, so good morning. We'll start with the last part of your Airtel Tamil Dynamics course. So I may need roughly around 4 hours to 4 to 5 hours. By the next week, we'll try to complete. I'll take some extra classes and we'll try to complete. So this particular thing, I think it's also called as air conditioning or psychrometry. Look at the syllabus. So that's what I have put. Now, when you think of air conditioning, okay, when you think of air conditioning, what comes to our mind? Can anyone tell me what exact is in air conditioning? What do you understand by it? Anyone, you can unmute and speak. Anyone, please. It should not be one-way communication. Mohit or Mohammed, someone, please unmute and speak.
Sir, air conditioning is reducing the temperature of, say, a space like a room by, I think it has to do with the humidity, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, fine. So it's maybe you are partly correct. Let me put something like this. What is air conditioning? Let's try to define as simple as possible. Okay. So some important definition. So air conditioning. Air conditioning. What it is? First one. You have to. So it is the method of. It is the method of controlling the temperature. The first part. Controlling the temperature. Then humidity, the second part, and also the purity of the air. Okay, purity of the how pure. So you might have seen that sometimes we are going to add something to purify the air, and the motion of the air, that is movement of the air, and the motion or movement of the air. Okay, where exactly? In an enclosed, in an enclosed space independent of outside conditions, independent of outside conditions. Look at this. I have tried to define it as possible. See, if something absent outside, it should not have any effect on the inside temperature or inside conditions. Okay, what we are trying to do, not only temperature, many feel that it's only controlling the temperature is air conditioning. That is true. That is maybe partly true. Other than temperature, you are trying to control the humidity. See, you have to maintain. See, you might have see if I go to hot place, if I go to cold place, your humidities are different. And also, most important thing when we try to do the air conditioning, purifying the air is maybe one of the majority tasks. Actually, we want a fresh or maybe we want a pure air, okay, which should be free from dust and all. And also, the movement of the air actually, it should be free. It should not be only, say, for example, if I sit at one of the corner in an air conditioning room, I should not get the cool air at that particular, it should not be confined. The movement of the air should be inside that particular room, and it should be independent of the whatever the ambient conditions or outside conditions. All these things put together, we call it as air conditioning. And the method of doing this is called as psychrometry. Okay, that means when we try to do all those things, see what are the things actually we need to we need if we want to do this actually, the air conditioning system. See the what are the things the air conditioning system will have? So an air conditioning system, if I speak of what it should have one temperature controller, okay, a temperature, a controller, and the second one a humidity controller. All these devices should be installed. Okay, an humidity controller, air movement. See, air movement controller. That is actually I should have some kind of a blower or some kind of fan or something. Okay, for purity, what I need actually? For purity, actually, I need some kind of an air filter. Okay, or some kind of cleaning, air filter, cleaning, and purification. All these things is done by using this air filter. Okay, a complete air conditioning should have all this. Then only I can feel the comfortness of that particular place. That's why air conditioning is called as a comfort, a human comfort actually. It's not for everyone. Whoever want is they can do it. Okay. Now, once you have this particular thing, air conditioning, the air conditioning system. Let's look at the air conditioning system. I have a simple picture here. Okay, this is a simple air conditioning system. Look at this. It's a simple air conditioning cycle, or what we call actually. What it does, look at the arrows actually. Where the, see, it has a filter from where air will enter. Okay, it has a filter, air will enter it. Then it's not only that one filter is not enough. Okay, the one filter is not enough. It has to be filtered further. So further filtration is required for us. That's why I go for some kind of a secondary filter. It may be electrostatic type, or it may be a fabric kind of a thing which will try to remove as much as dust particles. Then the purified air will go through a coil. Okay, the coil will, inside the coil will have the refrigerant. Usually earlier we used to use R22. Okay, R22. Now there is a fan. Okay, the cooled air is taken through a fan and it is given to a duct. And the ducts are placed inside your air conditioning space. This is a simple thing. Then you are not allowing that air to escape. If I try to allow the air to escape, then you are paying the penalty, you have to pay more power. What we try to do is actually, we will take the same air through the return duct and we'll try to do this cycle again and again. Okay, simple thing. If I want to explain this air conditioning cycle, this is a simple air conditioning cycle. Let me explain this. A simple air conditioning cycle. Air conditioning cycle. Simple air conditioning cycle. These are components. Okay. The fan forces the seal. We have a small fan is there. The fan will force your air to the duct. And that is connected to, maybe you have n number of openings in your room. Okay. And these openings are called as, maybe you might have, if you have visited any of the plants or centralized air conditioning units, they call that as terminus or terminals or air conditioning duct outlets. Okay. So duct was it. That's why whenever we try to go for an air conditioning systems, our ducts has to be properly designed. So it is not obstructed. There is no obstruction to the air. Okay. The air has to be easily circulated. So if you have a large room or a bigger room, I should have enough duct spaces off so that the local cooling doesn't happen. So that's what one of the thing I told. The movement of the air or the motion of the air in that particular space is more important. So what are the things which are important? The filters, which is going to purify your air again and again repeatedly. That's why if I have an air conditioning system at your home, after 3 months or after 6 months, I have to put a filter. Okay, I'm going to change the filter. They are something like consumables actually. So these filters will keep after maybe carbon nano, and I think nowadays I think they all go with nano carbon kind of air filters and all. So after the particular amount of time or after particular cycles of use, these coils will become, thus this air filters has to be replaced again and again. Now, when you come to the heating or cooling coils, okay, if I'm in a colder country, I will go for heating actually, because the room conditions. If I want to maintain the temperature of the room in and around 20 to 22 or 25 degrees Celsius. If your outside temperature is 45, the air has to be cooled. Okay, if the outside temperature is minus or 2 degrees or something like that, the air has to be heated. That's why it is not only air conditioning is not only cooling, because we are in some kind of a tropical country. We are going for air conditioning. The moment we call it air conditioning, we call it as a cooling. But if I go to maybe Canada, maybe UK and all actually, maybe some of the European countries, there it is something like air conditioning is there, it has to be heated until the temperatures are in the range of 25, 30, very rarely they see in sometimes in during the summer. Okay. Now, once you see this kind of air conditioning systems, you need to know certain definitions of the what are the things which are used in your air conditioning. Okay. One such definition is dry air. Okay. One such definition is dry air. Important definitions. Okay. One such definition is the dry air. What is this dry air? See, we all know that our air is made of nitrogen and oxygen. Maybe the 72% or what percentage, all those things. Okay. Maybe a small percentage of other gases also there. The mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and small percentage of other gases is called as dry air. Okay, let me define it. It is the mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and small percentage of other gases. Okay, gases. Now, when we speak of dry air, okay, you speak of dry air. Is it possible for us to look at wet air or moist air? Okay, so you have dry air, you have moist air. So what is this moist air actually? Moist air means actually it is a mixture of your dry air plus the vapor, that is water vapor in that actually. The dry air consists of some kind of, if we can call it as a fixed portion of your air, and the water vapor is one which may be varying, because the percentage of water vapor can vary. So these things will lead to what is called as humidity. If you understand moisture properly, then you will be in a better position to understand your humidity. Okay, so you have a dry air which is mixture of all those things. Now, when I speak of moisture means it is the mixture of dry air and suspended water vapor or water particles. Let me write that. Okay. Second definition. Moist air. Okay, it is binary mixture of dry air and water vapor. This water vapor is suspended. Okay, it's a suspension. So water vapor is called as suspension of water vapor. Okay. See, the dry air constitutes a fixed part. Okay, fixed part, while the water vapor, while the water vapor is a variable one. Okay, this is variable one. Why it is variable? Because the water suspension of water vapor will vary. See, if I am in Chennai, this suspension of water vapor will be different. If I'm in Mumbai, it will be different. If you are in Bangalore, it is different. So from place to place, suspension of water particles will vary, and the air which consists of dry air and water vapor is called as moisture. Okay. Now, when you know something about this particular dry air, or maybe your moisture, and or sometimes they call it as wet air also. Now, there are some important things which you have to understand. We call it as dry bulb temperature. Okay. One of the important definition is a dry bulb temperature. What is this dry bulb temperature? Dry bulb temperature. What is this? Now, see, I'm going to expose the air to a freely suspended thermometer. Okay. If I simply expose a freely suspended thermometer, say for example, so this is my room. See, for example, this is my room, and I'm going to freely suspend a thermometer like this. Simply a thermometer. I'm going to freely suspend a thermometer. So the temperature measured by a freely exposed or freely suspended thermometer in a room, whatever the temperature is going to measure, it's a dry bulb temperature. But still, this kind of freely suspension, that's the actual simple definition. But still, what will happen? This kind of thermometers may give some errors. Why it is actually? Because we all know that, I think if you go to heat transfer course, there is, even at the low temperatures, there is a little bit of radiation. Okay, we call it as a radiation is there, and that may lead to moist. Maybe what will happen? This may lead to vaporizing of your water. So what we need to do actually, if this is my thermometer, say this is my thermometer, I need to put a shield to it. We call that as radiation shield. Okay, we are going to put a radiation shield. So if you are able to put a radiation shield to your thermometer and measure the temperature, and that will give an accurate dry bulb temperature. Are you getting? Okay, that means now the definition becomes something like this. It is the temperature measured by a freely suspended or freely exposed thermometer with a radiation shield. Okay, with a radiation shield, or with a shield to maybe to minimize the radiation as well as the moisture, both. I have to put a shield which should be able to minimize the radiation effect as well as the moisture effect. Then whatever the temperature I am going to measure, that temperature I call it as the dry bulb temperature. So let me write that. Okay, it is the temperature of the air. It is the temperature of air. It is the temperature of the air measured by the freely suspended or exposed thermometer, temperature of thermometer shielded against radiation and moisture, against radiation and moisture. And this is called as dry bulb temperature. But sometimes you might have seen in any of the laboratories, you might have seen there will be two thermometers. Okay, one thermometer is what you see, which will measure the dry bulb temperature. And you might have seen another type of thermometer where you might have seen there is a small kind of a cotton wick or something attached to it, and it is inserted in some kind of a small soaked in water. The wick is soaked in water. Oh, that means one is the one to the right hand side without any wick is measuring the dry bulb temperature, which is shielded against, we'll have a radiation shield and all. Then other one, which is soaked with the wick or maybe cotton or something, that is going to measure what is called as another type of temperature. We call that as wet bulb temperature. And what is the advantage of this actually? When I try to put the wick to the your thermometer, it is going to see that is actually it is directly a measure of the quantity of moisture in the air. Okay, so now what is that actually? The other type of temperature what I told, it is your wet bulb temperature. We call that as wet bulb temperature. What it is? It is the temperature measured by the thermometer with a wick. With a wick, maybe it can be made of cotton or whatever, maybe simple thread or something, whatever it may be. A wick which is soaked in a water, which is directly a measure of the quantity or amount of moisture in the air. Okay, let me write that whatever I told, no, that I'm going to write. It is the temperature. It is the temperature measured. It is the temperature measured by the thermometer with a wet wick. So with a wick. So usually this can be cotton or it can be a small thread, whatever it may be, soaked in water. Soaked in water, which is a measure, see, and is directly a measure of, okay, and is a measure of the amount of moisture in the air. So we have defined two definitions. What is the dry bulb temperature and what is this wet bulb temperature? Now, very closely if you look at it, this dry air, see, we call that as a dry air and water vapor. So they are all to be something like ideal gases. So with some kind of partial pressures. If you have studied something about the partial pressures in your basic thermodynamics, okay, so they are all ideal gases. Ideal, maybe they define, they behave ideally, like just like an ideal gas. And even though the partial pressures are very low, even though their partial pressures are very, that means the pressure exerted by this water, the pressure exerted by your dry air, they are very low partial pressures. So they can be treated as maybe an ideal gases. They belong to, they are not a real gases. They belong to the category of an ideal gas. Okay, so just an extra information what I'm trying to do. Okay, now there are one more definition. Okay, what is called as your uh, dew point temperature. Okay, we have called as dew point temperature. You might have seen that sometimes what will happen, maybe if you have a car or something, maybe in the morning you might have seen that the glass will see some kind of water deposition of water vapor. Okay, deposition of water vapor. Why is it so? Or maybe sometimes we blow the air onto a mirror, all those things, if you try to do it actually, so it means that it has that particular water vapor. Why it is why the deposition takes place? Because at that particular point, it has reached a saturation temperature. You know that at the saturation temperature, okay, at the saturation temperature, the moisture, or which is a mixture of air and water, they get separated. That's what is going to happen. Now, when I speak of this kind of temperature, what is called as dew point temperature, when I call it as dew point temperature, okay, this is actually T suffix D, a dew point temperature. So it is the saturation temperature. It is nothing else. It is the saturation temperature at which the mixture, the air mixture, or your whatever the air and water mixture, when cooled at that given pressure, whatever it may be, the water vapor will try to condense on the surface. Okay, whatever the suspended water vapor will simply, what I'm trying to do, I am trying to cool the surface. Simple logic. You see, something like this. So I have a surface, like, look at this. See, I have a surface. This is at some saturation temperature. So this may be, sorry, this may be at a temperature. So saturation temperature, look at this. This is saturation temperature. So what will happen? There is a your air. This is moving like this. What will happen? This air will go and deposit on it. Okay, when I try to cool it, actually, simply it will go and condense on it. Okay, and whatever the condensate we see, whatever you are going to see, the droplets of condensation on the surface, we call that as condensate or dew. The temperature at which this phenomena is happening is called as dew point temperature. This is what most of us we see whenever during the winter and all, we see this activity. Okay, let me write that. It is the temperature. Okay, it is the temperature. It is the temperature. Okay, to which the mixture, that is air mixture. Okay, the air mixture when cooled. Okay, when cooled, that maybe I have to do it at constant pressure. At constant pressure. Why I have to do it at constant pressure? Go back and see what we discussed during the pure substances. It has to be on the constant pressure line. So at constant pressure, okay, the water vapor, see, the water vapor will condense. Okay, when cooled at constant pressure, the water vapor will condense into water. Okay. When cooled at constant pressure, the water vapor present in the air, the water vapor present in the air will condense. Okay, and the condensate is called as dew. Okay, the condensate. The condensate is called as dew. And the temperature at which this phenomenon is happening is the dew point temperature. Okay. Now, if you go back and see in your basic thermodynamics course, you might have studied something called as ideal gases. Okay. When you are studying your ideal gases, okay, so when you have these ideal gases, you have this mixture. Okay, I told that when I was discussing about the dry bulb temperature or wet bulb temperature, I told that your dry air as well as your water vapor both will behave like an ideal gas. When I have this particular thing, I should know something about the partial pressure. Dalton's law of partial pressures. What does it tell? It tells that it is the pressure exerted by your ideal gas mixture or your maybe your ideal gas, I'm calling it as ideal gas, in that particular mixture, and it's equal to, it should be a summation of pressure. See, that means it should be a summation of the pressure exerted by your air quantity, that is air, plus pressure exerted by your water vapor. The total pressure should be a summation of it. And why this particular thing is happening? Because it's equal to the pressures of both A and B if it is occupying the same volume and at the given temperature. If you go back and see that maybe what is Dalton's law, it's defined as it is the pressure exerted by ideal gas at a given volume and temperature. This is what they are going to tell. Now, when you come to psychrometry, instead of directly giving reference to the ideal gas, we tell that it is the mixture of air or ideal gas mixture or air mixture. That's the only difference. So what is this gas mixture? We have air, we have water vapor. And we are going to write in that particular direction. Okay, partial pressures. Partial pressure. This is as per Dalton's law. As per Dalton. So it is the pressure exerted by, as I told, it is the pressure exerted by the pressure exerted by the gas mixture, by the ideal gas mixture, that is air mixture, ideal gas mixture. Okay, this is ideal gas mixture and is equal to the pressure. See, this will be, see, what is it actually? This is the pressure exerted by the ideal gas mixture and is equal to what we call equal to the pressure exerted by, equal to the pressure at same volume and temperature, and is equal to the pressure. Okay, it would have okay, it would have actually, what is the pressure it would have occupied at, it would have exerted, it would have at the same volume and same temperature. Okay, same volume and same temperature. Or it's also, sometimes they call it as a given volume and given temperature. So under this condition, what will happen? The total pressure should be, so therefore the total pressure for the psychrometric condition is the summation of, or the sum of all the partial pressures, sum of all the partial pressures. What it is actually, if I take the total pressure is equal to P, then it is pressure exerted by the air, pressure exerted by the vapor. So where Pa is the partial pressure of air and PV is the partial pressure of water vapor, So this is as per your Dalton's law. Now, Similar to your partial pressures, we have what is called as mass. Okay, so now based on this mass of water vapor, based on mass of your air, if I go with some kind of a ratio, we'll end up with what is called as humidity. Okay, specific humidity, omega. You might have seen, if you have seen the air conditioning charts and all, you might have seen that there is something called as omega. So it is defined by three things: simply humidity, or specific humidity, absolute humidity, and few books they define it as humidity ratio. What it is? It is the ratio of mass of water vapor to the mass of dry air in the given mixture. Mass of water vapor to mass of air in that given air mixture. If I take the ratio of it, I will get what is called as specific humidity, or simply humidity, or absolute humidity, or humidity ratio. Let me write that. Okay, let me write that. Seventh definition. Specific humidity or absolute humidity or humidity ratio, and is defined by, it is given by symbol omega. So it is the ratio of, okay, let me write that. It is the ratio of mass of, okay, mass of water vapor. It is the ratio of mass of water vapor to the mass of dry air, okay, for a given air mixture, okay, for a given mixture of air, whatever it may be, call it as, for a given mixture of air. Then what it is mathematically, I can write it as omega is equal to mass of air by mass of, sorry, mass of vapor by mass of air. Okay, so this is what I have. This is a simple definition. So now, as I told, both air and water behave like ideal gases. So for an ideal gas, behavior, I can modify this equation. For an ideal gas behavior, okay, of both, behavior for both air and water vapor, both actually. So if both behave like an ideal gas, I have an equation. What is the equation I have? So PV is equal to MRT. We know that for ideal gas we have PV is equal to MRT, or I can write M is equal to PV by RT. This equation is known for us. This equation is known. What I will do, I will substitute for MV. What is MV? MV is equal to PV, that is pressure for volume. But one thing you remember, your V is constant and T is constant. That is, both are at the same temperatures and volume. Only pressures are varying. Any your constants are different. So PV into V, let me write a bigger V, okay, then there won't be any confusion. Okay, P pressure of this vapor into volume divided by R of your vapor into T. Then what about for the air? This will be pressure of air into volume divided by R of air into T. Now, if you closely look at it, so this I need to get some kind of an equation. See, I need to get only in terms of your, what is your R? If you go back and remember that, what is actually R is equal to R naught by molecular weight. Hope you all remember in your basic thermodynamics course. What is this R naught? This is your universal gas constant, which is 8.314 kilojoules per moles of Kelvin. Then, what is the molecular weight of your vapors? It is, vapor means it is H2O, 18. What is the molecular weight of your air? 28.96, to be very precise. Okay, if you want to be very precise with respect to your vapor also, it is 18.016 or something. So we'll simply will go with 18. So 28.96 for your air and 18 for your vapor. If I try to do this, okay, molecular weight. So M for, so I can write this as mass of air is equal to this. I will write it as PV. Anyhow, see, V just simply they go off. If you try to put it, V and temperature will simply go off. Okay, PV into V divided by, what is your RV? It is 8.314 divided by 18 into T. Okay, then mass of air is equal to pressure of air into volume divided by 8.314 divided by 28.96 into T. Now I'll substitute for this MV and MA in equation 1. If I try to do that, volume, temperature will go off. I am going to end up with, so therefore your omega becomes, okay, it is 8.314 divided by 18. Okay, so 8.31. So this is your this thing. So that is PV. So you have multiplied by PV divided by, okay, sorry, this is actually substitute for this thing. So this will be PV divided by 8.316 now. Yeah. PV divided by 8.314 divided by 18. This will be PA divided by 8.314 divided by 28.96. Okay. Now 8.314 divided by 18 divided by 8.314 divided by 28.96. If I do that, take a reciprocal of it, I am getting around 0.6215. See, this omega will be equal to 0.62156. So I will round it up to 2 decimals, that is 0.62. Pressure of volume vapor divided by pressure of air. So this I am calling it as equation. If you want, you can cross check this. So omega will be equal to, okay, because denominator go to numerator, all those things. Actually, this will be equal to 0.621546, something like that. I can round it off to 0.622. Omega will be 0.622 times of pressure of your vapor and pressure of your air. Okay, so this is a simple equation. Okay, this is a simple equation where it is good. So this is one particular thing. So using this, I will try to define one more thing, which is called as a relative humidity. Okay, I'm going to define one more thing called as a relative humidity, which is completely dependent